You know, they say it costs just as much to be positive as it does to be negative. Let's see how much optimism we can pump into each NFL fan base. Welcome into HQ Spotlight. I'm Chris Honorado, Kyle Long in studio. Mike Renner will join us as we take you through the Super Bowl hopes for all 32 franchises. Hope for all 32. We'll see. The hopes are high, as they should be in Philadelphia, Kyle. Eagles are looking to repeat as champs after that dismantling of the Chiefs 6 months ago. Only two franchises have won consecutive Super Bowls in the last 25 years, but the Eagles are well positioned here to pull it off. All right, we're going to take you division by division, starting with the NFC East, where there has not been a repeat winner in more than 20 years. Here are FanDuel's odds to win Super Bowl 60. Philly is a co-favorite overall at plus 700, followed by the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. Let's bring in Mike now to complete the pushing the pile pair. Mike, these are your rankings from worst to best in the NFC East. Before we get Kyle's reaction, we start with the Giants at 23.
Yeah, I really wanted to go higher for this Giants team. I've been singing the praises of this defensive line all offseason. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence, one of the most underrated DTs in the NFL. And they add Abdul Carr to that mix, who I think he has a Jared Verse-esque rookie year. I think this guy's just going to dominate from week 1 all the way through week 18. But I had to go down to 23 just because they don't have the quarterback position. I mean, do I see this team being able to, win more games than they did a year ago? Maybe sneak up around 500? Yes. Do I see them being able to win more than like 2 or 3 playoff games, which is what it takes to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Right? You just don't have that consistency on the offense side of the ball. This is kind of the calm before the storm. I think this is on a team on the upswing, but as it stands right now, I could only put them at 23.
Yeah, they're definitely building something in New York, and he mentioned that defensive front. And as a former offensive lineman, I can tell you a lot of success and failure as a team is determined and dictated by how that defensive front you're playing against is. And if you're playing against the Giants, you're having nightmares in that team hotel the night before the game, bringing these young guys like Abdul Carter, outside offensively Malik Neighbors. He mentioned the quarterback being the ceiling, but the great thing is you've got 2 ways to skin the cat there. Russell Wilson, whole shots down the field, or Jackson Dart, a little bit of dink and dunk.
As the O-lineman, who would you rather be blocking for week 1?
Oh, well, Jackson Dart, he seems like he's into the jewelry. Maybe he'd give the O-lineman some cool necklaces. No, like in all honesty, you can set your clock to what Russell Wilson's going to be about. He's been in the league so long. Why would you not say Russell Wilson?
Doesn't run around as much as he used to.
A lot of pre-snap calm instead of that rookie nerves.
Okay. Mike, Cowboys you have in the top half of the league here at 15. I know we're all still waiting for the Micah Parsons situation to settle, but where do you like Dallas here? Why?
Yeah, I almost felt bad putting them this low because to get to, a Super Bowl, you have to have high-end potential. You can't just be a solid team around the edges. You got to have a team that can, on a good day, beat anyone else in the NFL. And I think the Cowboys have that. When Micah Parsons is healthy, and not healthy, but on the football field. That's the biggest if right now for this team because you have 2 stud wide receivers, a combo that maybe 2 or 3 other teams in the NFL can even match. You have a stud pass rusher in Micah Parsons. You have a franchise quarterback in Dak Prescott. This offensive line, maybe still some growing pains, but they should be a much better run-blocking offensive line than we saw a year ago with the sheer physicality they have up front. So there's a lot to like about them, but then there's just some big holes. They're really thin in the secondary. They're really banged up in the secondary, and it just feels like the energy around this team right now is not where it needs to be if you want to be a Super Bowl champion, 7 months from now.
And Mike, check that. Dallas at 14 here on your list, not 15. Kyle?
Yeah, and you know what? Mike mentioned that offensive line, and they've made big investment into that group. They've got a lot of youth up front. You take a look at a couple big-time draft picks last year for the Cowboys, a guy like Tyler Smith there on the line of scrimmage. They are definitely investing in that offensive line. And obviously the thing that people were so excited about this offseason is bringing in this gentleman by the name of George Pickens. It's really 50-50 in my book. You got to show it to me for the entirety of the season, but George Pickens is such a mismatch every time. You got CeeDee Lamb. Who are you going to guard? Where's the help coming from? You're in trouble playing against this group.
All right, Washington gets all the way to the NFC Championship game a year ago, Mike. Jane Daniels, of course, the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year. You have them at 10.
Yeah, I wanted to buy into this team more, but ultimately they didn't do enough on the defensive side of the ball. It was their downfall a year ago when they got trounced in that NFC Championship game by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think it's going to be their downfall again this year because not only is it bad, it's bad where everyone else in the top of the NFC is good. Their run defense. They have not improved that unit. They were the 6th worst run defense by EPA per rush a season ago. They added 2 guys in Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller, who at this point in time, they're not good run defenders. So that was the only additions. I mean, Eddie Goldman, Dietrich Wise, but those are backups that they added. I don't see how this team improves in that front 7 in terms of being able to stop the run. And if that's the case, how are you going to get through the Eagles, right? How are you going to get through the Lions, who can run the ball very well also in the NFC? So I do just think that they do not match up well against the top of the rest of the NFC. And because of that, they're going to have to win a bunch of shootouts. Yeah, maybe they can. That's why I still have them top 10. But I didn't have them, in the top 5, taking this next step that a lot of people want them to have.
That's right, Mike. I mean, they're going to have to win a lot of shootouts, and that's just what they did last year.
They won so many games at the very end.
One possession games.
Right.
If you play in the league, if you watch the league, you understand that there's so much parity, and every week it comes down to situational awareness, success on these coin flip type plays. The biggest thing that the Washington Commanders and their fan base have working against them was their success this past year. Expectations so high. And once that honeymoon phase kind of wears off a little bit, they're going to set into reality. And like Mike said, this team is limited in terms of the way they're constructed. But Jaden Daniels is going to have to be perfect if they want to make another run like they did last year.
And still waiting for Terry McLaurin to get on the field in training camp, right? I mean, there's a lot at play here. Can the Commanders pull off the same magic they did a year ago? Mike, doesn't take us long to get all the way to number 1 on your rankings here in the NFC East. And it's, of course, the defending champs, the Eagles.
They had some big losses. I'm not going to wipe those under the rug. Mekhi Becton is a big loss at right guard. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat along this defensive line. But they also kept a lot of that intact. They also added depth to this offensive line. They also went out and got a couple of pass rushers in Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari to mitigate the losses they had. And then, oh, by the way, Jihad Campbell falls to them at the back end of the first round, who might be who was the best linebacker prospect in this class, might even be an upgrade from Nakobe Dean. So there's a lot to like about this team. They were unquestioned down the stretch the best team in the NFL, and they win where it matters most, where everyone wants to win in today's NFL, the trenches. They are so dominant on both sides of the football. I don't see them taking a step back in that regard. So if that's the case, yeah, you're going to have to go through Philly if you want to raise that Lombardi.
Dominant both sides of the ball where it matters. And, this is a team that gets to play with an extra down because of Jalen Hurts, because of the nature of that offensive line, and the things they're able to accomplish in short yardage. It's just mathematically unfair to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. You talked about how they haven't had a division repeat winner in, 30 or 20 years. And we talk about the number of teams that have repeated Super Bowls. For every piece that went out the door in Philadelphia this offseason after the Super Bowl, they brought in 2 pieces that were lesser, but not much lesser. Okay, and they're developing talent in Philadelphia. That's the reason why it's sustained success. I love this group, and they play the game the way it should be played. Just kick people's asses up front and ask questions later.
Yeah, they're doing the development as well as anybody in the league right now. All right, Kyle and Mike, looking at the NFC East here in terms of Mike's rankings to win Super Bowl 60. Philadelphia number 1 overall. Commanders still in the top 10 there. How about the odds to win the Super Bowl in the AFC East? Bills plus 700. We mentioned Philadelphia was also plus 700 here, and so a co-favorite. We'll get to the third team also listed at plus 700 according to FanDuel, followed by the Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets there. All right, Mike, get us started here with the Dolphins at 29. We know how hot the seat is going to be for Mike McDaniel, and do we completely turn the page from what Miami has been trying to do here? You've got him all the way down at 29.
So McDaniel's an interesting case because offensively, what they're doing, what he is as a play caller on that side of the football, you're not going to go out and do much better, right? Like, there are only a handful of guys that you can count probably on one hand the amount of guys you'd rather have doing that for this offense. But it's just the unity of this team and the other side of the ball that is the big issue for me. Their secondary on paper might be the worst in the NFL. Minka Fitzpatrick and then guys who are not even starters elsewhere. It is just a bad unit, and they don't have a great defensive tackle unit as well. You're relying on Kenneth Grant as a rookie to step in and be a big impact player right away at a position that's difficult to do so along the interior defensive line. And then the offensive line is just going to be a mismatch. I mean, trying to cobble together this from what they had last year with Teron Armstead leaving, I just think Tua is going to have to get the ball out every single time within 2.5 seconds, or he might be getting killed. So because of all that, it's just hard for me to see this team really go on a stretch run. It's not to say that they won't win games this year. It's just that winning a Super Bowl seems very, very far-fetched for this team.
I was just talking about the Commanders, and I said Jaden Daniels has to be perfect. And listening to Mike talk about the Dolphins' offense reminds me that that offensive line has to be perfect, because if something happens to Tua, we don't know how long he's going to be out or if he's ever going to be back. There's no question that when Tua Tagovailoa is in that offense and he's healthy, Mike McDaniels just hands off the wheel. You know, Jesus take the wheel. Tua's great in that offense, but you can't guarantee that he's going to be healthy. So for the offensive line, guys like Patrick Paul, players like James Daniels, who have come into the lineup to be part of that offensive line, they have to step up.
All right, Mike, how about the Jets at 25? New head coach, new quarterback. They went all in on keeping guys like Garrett Wilson and obviously Sauce Gardner as well.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is still great, right? I think last year a lot of their issues were just the turmoil at head coach and then their defense coordinator going up to head coach and Jeff Ulbrich, and it was just a mess. This year I expect it to be a lot better with Aaron Glenn in the fold, and they're kind of zigging when everyone else is zagging, or zagging when everyone else is zigging, however you want to look at it. They're going this run-heavy, defense-first approach when everyone's going spread-pass game, and I think they can win games via that formula. Now, will it lead to the Super Bowl? I don't think so when Justin Fields is your starting quarterback, but I think there's a chance here that it looks a lot better 12 weeks from now than what we might think it is right now.
Yeah, they're building a bully on the offensive line there with their draft picks. You look at Fashanu, and then you look at Membu coming into the building with Justin Fields at quarterback. Mike alluded to it. They're going to have a run-first approach. Styles make fights. Some people don't want to get into a fight with a team like that.
Jets at 25, Mike Patriots are at 20. Mike Vrabel back with the New England organization, and a lot of people liked what they saw from Drake May in year one.
Yeah, I really wanted to go higher for this team, but they're just too much new. I mean, it's a brand new team from a year ago. 12 new starters, over half your team is different, was not there last year. New head coach, and even like one of your starters in Drake May going from year one to year two, that should be a big leap from him. So there's a lot of unknown here. But when there's unknown, it's hard to really gel that quickly and get it to Super Bowl contention. I could see playoffs for this team because it's an easy schedule in an easy-ish division, but I don't think this is Super Bowl just yet for the Patriots.
Tough team, good quarterback, going to get better in his second year. Obviously, big investment in the talent pool there. And Mike Vrabel is the X factor. We talked about one-score games with the Commanders. This is a team that I think this year will maybe lead the league in one-score wins.
All right, the Bills are one of three teams at plus 700 as favorites to win the Super Bowl. Mike, you don't have them in the top three. I've got 4 here for Buffalo. Why?
Because there's a lot of good teams in the NFL. That's why. I mean, it's tough, and they found that out. Unfortunately, over the past half decade, is that yes, they're consistently year on year great. There's like 3 other teams in the AFC that have that same billing, and they're unfortunately in the wrong conference if you really want to be a team that gets the Super Bowl consistently when you got to play Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So that's why they're at 4, unfortunately. But it feels like this year should be the Bills or Ravens. It should be this year one of those 2 teams gets over the hump and gets to the Super Bowl in the AFC and finally ends this reign that the Chiefs have, the chokehold they have over the rest of the AFC. But we've said that before, and it hasn't happened, so we'll have to see it.
Dude, I mean, Sean McDermott, one of the longest tenured head coaches in the National Football League. We forget that. I was talking to my wife about that last night. It's like Harbaugh, Reed, and Sean McDermott. If the window's open now. If not now, then when? You've got an MVP quarterback. You've got an offensive line that's been nails. Got to make it happen. And if not, these Buffalo fans are like, we've seen this movie before. It's not a good movie to watch.
And the contract for James Cook says the window is now, right? We've got to make sure all pieces are back for Josh Allen to maybe win this thing for the Bills. Final year of that stadium, too, which would be a heck of a way to go out. A look at your AFC East teams, according to Mike Renner here, and the way he ranks them. Odds to win the Super Bowl: Bills at 4, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins.
Thanks for a lot of good divisional games there.
All in the 20s. Welcome back to Spotlight. There's a lot to like in the NFC and AFC West divisions. Start in the NFC here, the 49ers and Rams, both in the top 10 in FanDuel's odds to win Super Bowl 60. What do our NFL analysts say about that? Hosts of Pushing the Pile hanging with us here, Kyle Long, Mike Renner. Mike, these are your rankings. We'll start in the NFC West. The Seahawks are number 24 for you. Yeah,
I like this roster. I like the direction they're going. outside of Sam Darnold. This one just comes down to Sam Darnold. Do I trust Sam Darnold to win 4 straight playoff games without having that dud? The dud that we saw week 18, the dud that we saw in that wild card game. I don't. I just don't. And if that's the case, it's going to be very difficult to win a Super Bowl at this point in time. So that's why they are at 24. Even if I did a power ranking, this team would be much higher than 24.
Defense will have this team in every football game, but obviously the ceiling there is the quarterback. And I think the schematic incongruity with what they're trying to get done up there. The offense is designed to run, and then have somebody run by the safeties and hit them. They don't have a guy who can run by the safeties. They're going to have to be really good in the run game.
Schematic incongruity. Okay.
Look it up. Junior college.
Early in the show for that one. Cardinals are ahead of the Seahawks, Mike, 2 spots up to 22.
Yeah, and they get the similar sort of treatment here, is that this team is better than the 22nd best team in the NFL. I love the additions defensively, specifically along that defensive line. It will be a night and day unit from what we saw last year. It's just, with Kyler Murray at quarterback last year, they were high, and then had awful lows. They had 5 games where they scored fewer than 2 touchdowns, fewer than 14 points. That's just 1 out of 3 games. How are you going to get through the playoffs when you score less than 14 points? I don't think their defense is going to be dominant enough to win games scoring 10, 13 points. And because of that, I just don't see the offense being consistent enough to get back through a playoff.
Elite receivers, and Mike will back me up on this, they bail their offense out more often than not, and they don't allow for your offense to take those dips. So if Marvin Harrison Jr. can improve to be a great elite level receiver, we're not going to see that inconsistency from the Cardinals.
Keep Kyler healthy there, too. Rams, talking about healthy quarterbacks here. Matthew Stafford practiced for the first time in training camp on Monday. And, Mike, you've got them at 13. Obviously, we're assuming health here for L.A.
Yeah, it's kind of hedging here, because I think with Matt Stafford, if we never heard of this back and we just knew he was going to be healthy the whole season, it's a top 10 for me. It's just, when you have a bad back, you don't used to have a bad back. You kind of always have a bad back. So he's 1 hit away or 1 play from it just being tweaked enough that he's not quite himself. But they got a winning formula there in terms of, obviously, head coach Sean McVay, the receiving duo they have, and this front 7 that is one of the most ferocious in the NFL. Obviously set the 2-game sack record in last year's playoffs. So because of that, that's a winning formula to get through to a Super Bowl. But I just don't trust a 37-year-old quarterback with Matt Stafford's injury history, unfortunately, for the Rams.
I watched Stetson Bennett the other night out there slinging that weapon around like an absolute animal. And, it kind of makes me think, is that defense, and that defensive front in particular, good enough to carry this team if Matt Stafford goes down, let's say, week 7? Does Stetson Bennett have the juice, and does the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, that defensive line, have enough juice to win games on their own?
So Bennett's the guy if Stafford...
I'm just saying, it would be fun. It's always fun. Never fun to see Matt Stafford down there.
Yeah. Team that really needs health, the 49ers. How many combined missed games did starters have for this squad last year? And, Mike, you have San Fran at 12.
Yeah, I think this is because of 2 things. One, easy schedule. They have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL based off of last year's win-loss record. 2, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, you still have weapons there. If Christian McCaffrey's back to his old self and Brandon Ayuk comes back healthy mid-season, that is a trio of wide receivers and obviously a tight end and running back that are elite at their respective positions that it can still put up points on anybody. It's just this defense at this point in time is not the same defense we saw walking through the door at the Super Bowl. I know they still have some of the big names there, but they do not have key players like Javon Hargrave, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga. Those guys aren't walking through that door. They're relying on rookies. So whenever that's the case, I just think it might be a little bit more of a process to get this defense back to that level. And because of that, they fall outside my top 10.
Tell you what, man, I could watch Nick Bosa come out of a 3-point stance all day.
Man.
Me and Chris just looked at each other like, damn. You know what? I'll raise you the Kyle Shanahan hat tip, and I'll say this. Robert Saleh back in the building. You talk about that roster defensively not necessarily having the same teeth they've had in years past. I'll tell you what, these coaches make a fantastic difference in performance. Robert Saleh is going to be a big piece there this year.
All right, Kyle and Mike, hang with us here. The NFC West rankings, according to Mike, 12 and 13, right back-to-back Niners and Rams. How about the odds to win the Super Bowl in the AFC West, according to FanDuel? The Chiefs sitting there at plus 800, but we start with Las Vegas. A lot of excitement with the additions here at quarterback and running back. But, Mike, you've got them at 27.
Yeah, their secondary is just too big of an issue to look over. It's going to be bad. They're going to have to score points because a lot of points will be scored against them. So I don't trust this defensive turnaround just yet. I think offensively, it's the most excited I've been about a Raiders team in a while. But they still need just a few more pieces, especially right tackle, especially maybe some speedier wide receivers in that building. But 27's an upgrade, quite frankly, over what we've seen lately in Las Vegas.
Everything's an upgrade in Las Vegas. I watched Tom Brady walking around in the Al Davis outfit in the bowels of the stadium the other day. That looks awesome. Geno Smith, great quarterback relative to what they've had as mainstays for the Raiders for a while. Chip Kelly, really bright. Genty, awesome. 2 tight ends. Come on, they got to love this in Vegas. They may be lacking on the back end defensively, but they're going to score some points.
Genty just ready to run dudes over. Chargers at 18 here. Obviously a huge injury along the offensive line. And, Mike, we just have to see it to believe it from Herbert?
Yeah, I think I need to see this offense without Rashawn Slater, right? He was such a big part. Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber left tackle. He can't replace that. And so that offensive line that should have been this elite unit kind of takes this big step back, and you can't really afford to take a step back in the AFC West. It's one of the best divisions in football. So I put them at 18 here because they're third fiddle in that division now, and that's always going to be difficult to roll through to a Super Bowl when that's the case. And then defensively, yeah, they're going to always play above their sort of pay grade with Jesse Mitch or with Jim Harbaugh, but there's just not enough talent. Your best pass rusher is a 34-year-old Khalil Mack. They don't have quite the horses to be a dominant defense come playoff time.
Yes, Joe Alt is a burgeoning superstar on the other side, opposite Rashawn Slater. But imagine the Eagles without Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata. I've seen these offenses before without their star tackles, and they don't look the same. So I imagine that's what we're going to see from Los Angeles.
All right, this is one of my favorite ranks you've got here, Mike. The Broncos inside the top 10 at 9, and we talk about the defenses that are going to be really good this year. Look out in Denver.
Top 3 defense a year ago, and they added Jahdae Barron, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga. They had 3 key pieces to this defense, and you have a quarterback going from year 1 to year 2, and they were in the playoffs last year. Yeah. I don't see what there is not to like about this Broncos team.
Yeah, it's a gold rush. Sean Payton's awesome. Bo Nix proved to be versatile last year. At the end of the season, he was able to run, use his legs, and that defense is going to keep him in every single game.
Chiefs have reached 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Mike, they're number 3 on your list.
Yeah, you can put them 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. They're going to be there at the end of the year. We know what's going to happen. Same old story here, somewhere in the top 3.
And you know what? They stole one in Josh Simmons. If you've been watching the preseason, that left tackle, he looks pretty good. Okay, going against a good player, in Seattle, they did well. The question mark is protecting Patrick. They addressed that this offseason with some of the departures with guys like Joe Thuney.
All right, we're halfway home. Kyle and Mike hang around here. The AFC West rankings, according to our Mike Renner. The Chiefs at 3, the Broncos at 9, followed by the Chargers and the Raiders. Back into it here on Spotlight. Would you believe me, Kyle Long, if I told you every fan base believes they can win the Super Bowl this year? We're
Cowboys
making
especially
them believers. Odds to win the Super Bowl in the NFC South here. Bucks are top 10 on FanDuel. Falcons, Panthers, Saints in order after that for this division alone. Mike Renner with us as well. Saints aren't dead last in your rankings, Mike, but they are 31st as we still wait for Kellen Moore to name his starting QB.
Yeah, this team wasn't actually that bad when Derek Carr was starting a year ago. They were on pace, early on the season. They looked like they might challenge the Bucs for the South champion, but they didn't win a game after Derek Carr was gone. And unfortunately, it's not like they brought in a starter that we know is going to be good. So that's why they end up here down 31.
All right, let's move on to the Panthers here. Bryce Young, strong finish to last season. You've got Carolina ranked 28th.
Yeah, I'm buying Bryce Young. I think this offense turnaround is real. I think his connection with T-Mac is real. I think it's going to transform what this offense looked like compared to early on last season. But this defense hasn't done enough. Their biggest additions were in the draft, and one of the guys, second rounder Nick Scorton, is hurt now with his collapsed lung. So that's who you're banking on to start to transform this defense that really only has one corner, that really doesn't have any talented edge rushers. That's where I just see limiting this team and how far they go.
And I don't know if Carolina's in position to make a play for a 31-year-old pass rusher like Trey Hendrickson, but that would create more conversation around Carolina. How about the Falcons, who loaded up on defense in this draft after building out the offense in previous years' first rounds, Mike?
This is a really high variance team this year. I can't wait to watch Falcons football because offensively, they are exciting as heck. Michael Penix Jr. slings it. He attacks down the football field. They have the receivers to go get it down the football field. I just worry about this secondary, quite frankly. Yes, you brought in two rookie pass rushers in the first round, but how often do those guys really make a big impact? They're going to have to because they have no one else there that can really rush the passer along that front four. So I see a wide range of outcomes for this team. 16th, though, is I think whereabout they lie because they do have some glaring holes on this team.
A couple things I love about the Atlanta Falcons. Their leader at quarterback. He's experienced. He doesn't blink. And when we watched him be asked to compete last year, he stepped up to the plate in prime time and didn't blink once. I love the way that they have different types of receivers, body types. They've got guys who can get different things done. For a coordinator to have that wealth of weapons, it's going to be a lot of fun. I liken it to a Madden offense. You got a little bit of everything, man. If they've got answers for us, we got answers for them. That's the Atlanta Falcons this year.
So 4th and 23, my guys are on the field. We're going Madden
4th and
offense.
23. In Madden, we're going to go. We're going to go for it.
Falcons at 16 for you, Mike. The Bucs at 6 here. They lost their offensive coordinator in Liam Cohen, but talk about explosive offenses. This might be one of the best in the league.
Oh, it should be. As long as the offensive line stays healthy. That's the biggest thing because Tristan Wirfs should be out a couple of weeks. But with that front five, it's top 5 unit in the NFL in my eyes. And then they have one of the deepest receiving corps in the NFL, one of the deepest defensive lines in the NFL, one of the deepest secondaries in the NFL. It really is all there. Jason Light was in his bag this offseason, building up this roster. And why I have them at 6 here, they were the easiest path to the 1 seed of anyone in the NFC. That South division is the weakest in the NFC. They have a fairly easy schedule. This team could get to 13, 14 wins without really breaking a sweat. And because of that, obviously get that 1 seed. That's your easy path to a Super Bowl.
It's always crazy to me that when we think about South Florida teams playing football, they suck and they're softer in the cold months. Well, this Tampa Bay Bucs team, they're the antithesis of that. They can go on the road, cold weather teams, they'll punch you right in the mouth. With a guy like Baker Mayfield, they can do anything.
Man, nothing soft there. All right. Your look at the NFC South here. Again, the Bucs, Falcons, Panthers, Saints in that order. How about the odds to win the Super Bowl in the AFC South? According to FanDuel, the Texans at plus 2,200, the favorites there in terms of that division alone. And then, Mike, this is where your 32nd ranked team pops into our rankings. The Titans at 32, rookie quarterback.
Yeah, rookie quarterback's never gotten the job done. This was the worst team in the NFL last year. I just don't see where they've really improved outside of obviously that quarterback position. So because of that, it'll happen. I believe in Cam Ward. It'll be a lot more exciting this year, but it's still a very bad roster.
All right, how about the Colts? Again, waiting for their starting quarterback. And when you draft Anthony Richardson 4th overall a few years ago, I don't know that, Mike, you expect to be 26th on a list like that, but it's between Richardson and Daniel Jones in Indianapolis.
I think you just said right there my entire explanation for why I have them at 26.
Here we go,
it's
Kyle.
Between Richardson and Daniel Jones. It's a good roster. It's a good roster. They are better than 26th in the power ranking. You got to win and beat the best, though. Is Anthony Richardson going to go out and beat the best? Daniel Jones going to go out and beat the best? I don't see it. I just don't see it, unfortunately.
I mean, look, they got the guy in Tyler Warren that's supposed to be the pacifier for a quarterback who needs a little bit of help, somebody who's always in his vision. If they can find a way to scheme up a run game, be consistent in that department, that guy Tyler Warren should be open, and Anthony Richardson should have a lot of layups this season to get that confidence up.
All right, Mike, no thunder stolen here. Jaguars at 17. We all know about Travis Hunter, of course.
Yeah, I put them right behind the Falcons, and they're very similar teams to me in that offensively, it's like, ooh, these teams could be something different. These teams could be special on that side of the football, given what they have at the offensive coordinator position here with Liam Cohen coming over, given the weapons that they have now with Travis Hunter, that full running back room, the best Trevor Lawrence has ever had at his disposal. Then I look at the defense, and I'm like, ooh, we're probably still a year away. We have some glaring holes when it comes to the defensive side of the ball that are probably going to get exploited at some point in time. So I can't buy in fully, but this is a team I really want to watch this upcoming season.
And the ceiling on this football team is how well they protect Trevor Lawrence, because he's going to be asked to do a lot. And if Trevor Lawrence is healthy, I fully anticipate him having a bit of a renaissance as a quarterback in Liam Cohen's system. And Mike's right, a lot of talent, but there's some talent in that O-line room, and they need to perform and understand their gig is very important this year.
2 wins in C.J. Stroud's first 2 seasons in Houston. Mike, you've got the Texans at 8 in the AFC South.
Yeah, they have a winning formula. It's an elite defense, right? It was a defense that was right up there with the Eagles in terms of pass defense. They just gave up a lot more big plays. That shouldn't happen this year with the addition of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, with, the 2 rookies that were starting now going into year 2, some fewer rookie mistakes there. It should be one of, if not the best pass defense in football. And then you got a franchise quarterback. I know his offensive line's a mess, but they should scheme around it much better this year than they did a year ago. If that's the case, if C.J. Stroud's a better fit for Nick Caley's offense than he was Bobby Slowick's, look out. I mean, this team could be one to sneak through the AFC. I know we all know the big dogs. This is one that could really rise up into that echelon this season.
Yeah, and so many people think that success of an offense is in large part due to the coordinator, and I'll give it to him. That's important. But sometimes it's not necessarily the offensive line that's making you have all these headaches. And last year, the easy thing to point the finger at was the offensive line, and they were not good. But Nick Caley, to Mike's point, he's going to give a fresh view on things offensively for C.J. Stroud. Do not expect another dip this year from C.J. I anticipate that offense being electric. Just go look at when Nico was on the field at the beginning of the year last year. They were unreal.
Back healthy, ready to go. High on a lot of fantasy draft boards, that's for sure. Texans are high on Mike's board at number 8 to win the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC South. Our last 2 divisions here on Spotlight as we take you division by division, NFC and AFC North. Looking at all 32 teams and how Mike Renner ranks their chances to win the Super Bowl. These are FanDuel's odds for teams in the NFC North. Lions are the 5th choice overall. Kyle and Mike with us every step of the way here. Mike, let's start with the Bears. Chicago's at 19 for you. A lot of excitement on this side of the desk for the Bears season.
Yeah, just the most difficult thing with the Bears is the division they're in, is that they're still looking up. Well, hey, I've gotten used to that at this point. But it's the division they're in, having to face the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions. And yeah, they may bump up their standing from 4th to middle of the pack this year, but middle of the pack's still tough to overcome than all the way to get to a Lombardi trophy. This feels like the year before the year. Hopefully Caleb Williams takes big steps forward. And then going into year 3, that's when it's pedal to the metal. Everything should be humming. Everyone should be coming back. This defense should be able to get additions to it. And that's when it all comes together. But for right now, it feels a little bit too early to put them up higher than this.
I'm in agreement with Mike about the fact that the Chicago Bears are 1 year away from really making a run at this thing. We're going to learn a lot about how close they are in 12 to 24 months. In the next month or so. It's all about how Caleb Williams develops. Can the football get out of his hand quick enough? We've obviously seen they have the weapons offensively. They've got guys on the back end defensively. They've got an influx of rushers here with Sweat coming to town, Grady Jarrett. They've got the guys. They need to just catch up offensively to be able to have a complete package there in Chicago.
And everybody believes they've got the head coach now.
Yeah.
Vikings are at 15 for you, Mike, here. How many questions do you have around J.J. McCarthy?
It's a lot. I mean, that's it. He is the question here. It is, what does he do? Because it's his first year as a starter. And the thing is, coming out of Michigan, he didn't come from a high-volume passing offense. Patrick Mahomes comes in as not starting year 1, and year 2 was obviously MVP. But he passed a ton at Texas Tech. He was healthy his entire rookie year. I just think you'll see serious growing pains from a first-year starting quarterback in the NFL that maybe you didn't quite see at times with Darnold last year, or that you saw at times, and what ultimately did them in. So the Vikings, that's just the big issue with me, is that J.J. McCarthy could be a franchise guy, but it's just always going to be difficult for you year 1. And then they got this secondary at the cornerback position that they just don't have guys. They lost a lot there, didn't backfill. I'm worried about how their pass defense is going to be. Not that it's going to take a huge step back. You have Brian Flores, but just may not be a dominant unit.
Like Mike said, the bad news for all these teams is that they are in the NFC North, and it's an arms race, whether it's quarterbacks or coordinators that are really at the cutting edge of offense. And the good news for the Vikings is that every single time that J.J. McCarthy takes the field, he's going to get better, and the game's going to slow down for him. But how slow or fast is the game going to be for J.J. McCarthy week 1?
Yeah, and he's got Justin Jefferson, which doesn't hurt either.
He's got the Chicago Bears going to be playing the Vikings week 1. Watch out.
Packers at number 7 here, Mike. Playoff appearances in both of Jordan Love's seasons as a starter.
Yeah, they kind of just have everything now offensively. They have depth along the offensive line, which is what was their Achilles heel in that Eagles game last year. They have a #1 wide receiver, at least by the looks of it in preseason, in Matthew Golden, who really rounds out this receiving core, makes it a little bit more reliable. And they were all, first and second year players basically the last 2 years under Jordan Love. They've matured. They've gotten to now, this isn't, those growing pains should all be gone. And this should be the year the offense really looks like what it can be under Matt LaFleur, excuse me. So the only question is, can they rush the passer? A lot of first rounders there, a lot of investment. They just need to improve on that side of the football. If they can, if those guys take leaps forward after firing their D-line coach last year, number 7 seems justified.
Great news for the Green Bay Packers is Matt LaFleur's their head coach, and we watched Malik Willis go in there last year and get some wins for this team. It was kind of like seamless. Nobody took any strenuous breaths. They just continued to win. And like you said, and like Mike said, you got this guy coming to town, Matthew Golden. He's going to be a spark plug for this offense. And all the question marks in that receiver room, who's going to step up and be the #1 guy, doesn't matter. Just be a really good 2 guy. Jordan Love will distribute the football. This team is dangerous. Watch out for this offense.
A couple of really good tight ends there in Green Bay as well. Lions are #5 for you, Mike, here. They lost in the divisional round as the 1 seed after getting to the NFC Championship game the year before. Why 5?
Well, the thing is, they're top 3 in terms of just talent. This team has as much talent as anyone else in the NFL. It's just, how are they going to deal with losing both coordinators? Because Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn were 2 of the best at doing what they did on their respective sides of the football. But the thing is, they're even more talented than they were last year when they won the 1 seed, right? Aleem McNeil will come back at some point in time. Aiden Hutchinson apparently looks back to his old self, even though he only played 4 games last year. Your secondary, they had rookies starting. Well, now they're in year 2, and you still have those 2 all-pro safeties on the back end. So I think this team should be even better from a talent perspective, but obviously from a pure coordinating X's and O's perspective, we may see them take a bit of a step back. The talent, at the end of the day, is still what talks in the NFL.
Look at that schedule, too. Packers, Bears, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks for the bye week.
Dude, your O-line gives you a chance, and Brad Holmes has constructed a good offensive line, and your running backs give you an identity. The Detroit Lions have an identity, and when they're not handing them to those 2 bullies, Sonic and Knuckles, I believe is their nicknames, they can get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They can get it to any number of guys. And Jared Goff, cool as a cucumber, one of the best renaissances in NFL's history. I love watching him work. Guy's just quiet, and he wins.
Look at the NFC North rankings here. According to our Mike Renner, the Lions are at #5, the Packers at #7. All of them, guys, in the top 20 here. Minnesota 15.
What a division.
Chicago 19. Brutal. I mean, fun. I don't have to play in it, so it's fun, but that's brutal. Odds to win the Super Bowl in the AFC North here, according to FanDuel, the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Bills, all at plus 700. Mike had plus 40,000. The Cleveland Browns in their 30th on your list. We do know on Monday, Joe Flacco's been named the starting quarterback. Everyone saw that one coming.
Yeah, and that's why they're 30th here. You have a 40-year-old quarterback starting for you, and your fan base is clamoring for your 5th-round rookie to actually be the starter. So it could be better this year. It should be better this year. The defense should take a step forward. I don't see the offense ever even coming close to championship Super Bowl caliber.
What does Shedeur do? Does he do this? This is my Browns breakdown, okay? One of the most fun preseasons I've ever watched, okay? Between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, it's a lot of fun. And there's just an older gentleman over there on the bench hanging out for the preseason, and he knows
quietly
he's the starter.
waiting.
They're fighting for scraps there.
All right, how about the Steelers at 21? Another old quarterback here. Pittsburgh has lost 6 straight playoff games, the addition of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and Rodgers, when healthy, if they keep him healthy, you say he's healthy the entire season, they're higher than this. Here's the thing. He doesn't play a brand of football that leads to staying healthy. He takes a lot of hits. He's not Tom Brady here at this age, which is why he hasn't looked like Tom Brady post-40, unfortunately. And also, you got one receiver to throw to. And anytime Aaron Rodgers only has one receiver to throw to, he gets predictable. He force feeds that guy, refuses to throw to the other people. I worry about how this receiving core is built, given Aaron Rodgers starting quarterback.
They're going to have to be perfect to survive this division. And with a quarterback who's 41, 42 years old, I mean, even more perfect than perfect, Chris.
Opening at the Jets, which is fun. Pittsburgh is 21 on Mike's rankings. Moved down 10 spots to the Bengals, Mike, at 11.
When you got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you can't fall too low. because you can score points. You can beat anyone in the NFL when you got that trio. They don't have enough defensively, and they don't have their best defensive player from a year ago either. If Trey Hendrickson gets traded, if he's not there week 1, just sayonara. Write the book on this season, because this defense will not be good enough for them to win a Super Bowl.
This is one of the biggest wastes of talent that I've ever seen in sports. Ooh. And I grew up listening to all these old-timers, Hall of Famers talk about this guy by the name of Dan Marino, who never won a Super Bowl, played for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, he's pretty good. Check him out. This is what I fear is going to end up happening with Joe Burrow. We're just going to miss out on greatness, and greatness will never get that pelt on the wall. So for the Bengals, you got to figure out how the hell you're going to get this done, because it's almost criminal to waste that much talent in Cincinnati right now.
Well, you're going to have to become one of the old heads who tells the next generation
I don't have a
how
jacket.
Good Joe Burrow was, you know? Ravens at number 2 here, Mike. In Baltimore, hopes are high. I mean, look, the defense has been good for so long. What they added in the draft, this is absurd now, what's happening.
Going Jair Alexander adding to the secondary, Malachi Starks adding to the secondary. You have the 2-time MVP at quarterback that a lot of people wanted to be a 3-time last year. You have that receiving duo that's one of the best separating duos in all of football. And you got King Henry in the backfield with his top 2 seasons were the highest 2 seasons ever by a running back in NFL history in terms of rushing yards. Yeah, this team's built for it. This should be the team. This should be the year for the Baltimore Ravens. If they can't get over the hump this year, whew, Baltimore Ravens fans, I'll have to feel for you, because another January defeat will be crushing to this franchise.
You know, the only thing that will stop the Baltimore Ravens is the Philadelphia Eagles in San Francisco in the Super Bowl. I love this Ravens team. I love the way they're built, both sides of the ball. They bully people. You know what's coming. Everybody in the stadium knows what's coming, and you can't stop it. That's why we love the Ravens so much.
Eagles over the Ravens in the Super Bowl for you.
You heard it here a couple days ago. Producer James in the back, he made me do my playoff prediction, so congrats to the Eagles, I guess.
All right. I think I'm taking the Ravens. At least that's where my money is early on in the game here. Here's a look at your Super Bowl 60 rankings. Again, according to our Mike Renner, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Lions, your top 5. Kyle and Mike, thank you guys so much. A reminder to check them out on their podcast, Pushing the Pile. New episode available now about the importance of practice.
Dude, joint practices matter.
Practice.
We're talking about practice.
Thanks for hanging out, Spotlight.